What's the word, Harrisburg? My name is Matt Maisel. Today we are going to have the very important discussion about mental health, and not just mental health as you and I might think about it, but the layers of mental health that maybe you're not necessarily considering. And here to talk about that and the different layers of mental health are two experts locally in the field. Empress Evolve is the business, Dr. Taylor Bryant, Dr. Nicole Greene. Thank you both so much for joining us here on Channel 20.
Of course, we were excited to come today.
Yeah, so when I talk about mental health, I mean, it's almost become a buzzword of sort. I got to improve my mental health. My mental health is struggling. The way you two have specialties in different fields of mental health, when I say bettering someone's mental health, what kind of response do you have to that?
So you're right. The buzzword, I think it's great we're having discussions, but then also there's a lot of problems that come with that because there's a lot of misinformation or just a lack of understanding. So when I think about bettering mental health, I think about changing the neurons in your brain. And to keep it very simple, I know that if we do an fMRI scan and individuals, let's say, pre-getting good treatment versus post-getting good treatment, we can see your brain laid up differently under the same situations, under the same triggers. So we know that we can literally change the way the neurons fire, the way your brain functions. So when I think of better mental health, I'm not thinking about, do we feel good? Are we not being triggered? Are we breathing? It's, are we perceiving the world differently? And are we problem solving in a more effective way with more clarity?
So basically, I mean, you're talking about the way neurons get triggered in someone's brain. How do you read something like that?
So
the brain is her area.
Okay.
Like, she's the expert on the brain when it comes to this stuff.
So in terms of if we don't have scans, so like how she and I would read it, that's how we can break down people's thought patterns by asking the right questions, understanding how they're jumping from point A to point B to point C. Also body language is a very big indicator as well. So we combine those two things, and again, based on the answers of the question, we ask very specific types of questions. We can tell, oh, this is the path it's taking. This is the side of the brain this thought process is taking. And we know how to pivot that then.
What types of questions? Can we role play here for a second? I mean, is this the setting to do something like that? Or does it have to be in a very, very specific kind of?
I mean, I'll
give that one to you.
I would say I'm open to a role play. If you want to try to role play some questions back and forth, I'd be open to that.
Okay,
yeah.
Got it. All right, so
Yeah.
so let's before we go any further, explain the specialties. Dr. Greene, I know your specialty deals more with trauma and just trauma recovery, childhood trauma, things of that nature. Correct.
So our whole business is trauma recovery.
Okay.
So then my area of specialties tends to be in individuals who experience childhood trauma.
Okay, got it. And Dr. Bryant, your specialty is more in postpartum and maternal mental health.
Yes.
Correct? Okay.
Yep, so any woman, or even, because men can also get postpartum depression, which is not a big fact that many people talk about. But any woman that has a child afterwards, or even when she is pregnant, sometimes you can struggle with your mental health and the changes that are happening in the environment, the changes in your relationship, the loss of control that comes with, having a child. So I really wanted to focus on that and then pull in those pieces of how trauma can impact your parenting styles, how trauma impacts your mental health once your bundle of joy is here.
The idea of postpartum depression, postpartum mental health, that is something, I mean, I understand as a father of two, I've been there, my wife's been there. It's something that everyone seemingly goes through in some way, shape, or form. Yes. Just some people less severe than others. How do you know that it's time to seek help if you're someone? Because, for example, I wasn't at the level where I felt the need to see anyone. My wife wasn't at the level where we felt the need to see anyone. I know people absolutely who did. How do you know that seeking help, seeking someone to talk to about postpartum issues is right for you?
So you're absolutely right. When it comes to having a child, it completely changes your life. It looks like an adjustment. That's what it is. It's an adjustment, right? But when something is happening for you and it impacts your daily ability to function, that's when you need to seek help. Even with mental health in general, I think about anxiety. So when you have the normal, okay, what time is it? Oh, I have to feed my child at this time. Oh, okay, I have to feed my child at this time. I have to breastfeed at this time. That's normal. But once you like take it up, okay, what if my child is going to choke on this? Then you try to prevent that from happening. Or, oh, I don't want my kid to fall down the stairs. So you try to prevent that from happening. When it impacts your daily life, that's when you need to seek help.
I feel like you're describing so many things. Like I'm just thinking of me and how over cautionary a parent I can be sometimes. Is that, I mean, is that something where I need to seek help? Like I've had an experience where my daughter fell down the stairs recently, and now whenever she gets near the stairs, I internally start to freak out a little bit. Is that something that, you know, am I kind of on that level? I mean, are we experiencing something right now? I don't know.
So I would say there is a difference because a helicopter parent is one parent that wants to prevent any bad thing from happening to their child. They want to
Feel like
prevent the
that's more
struggle.
what I feel like I have struggled more with helicopter parenting than anything else.
Maybe it's worth a discussion.
Yeah.
So that's where we would get into like those deeper questions of help us understand why you feel the need to jump in and want to help every single time. Where does that come from for you?
I think it's just more of fear than anything. Like the health and safety of my children is the most important thing in the world. I don't want to see them be hurt. And the follow up to that, which I know might be, do I have experience in that? And the answer is no. Had a wonderful childhood, wonderful upbringing, but maybe it comes from a place where I don't want to. I want my kids to have the same childhood experience that I did. Safe, comfortable. I want them to experience that as well, and I don't want to do anything that's going to jeopardize that.
I feel like that's the mission that a lot of parents have. They want to either give their kids the same beautiful childhood they had or escape from the childhood that they had growing up if there was trauma or, you know, situations that impacted their mental health. What you have to think about is, where does that fear actually come from for you? Is there like a fear of failing your child? Because then that reflects back on maybe some of the things that you went through in your childhood. It doesn't necessarily have to be trauma, but how did your parents respond to you when you made a mistake?
Fear of a loss of control.
Fear of a loss of control, fear of danger, what have you. It doesn't have to be trauma. You can grow up in a healthy household, but sometimes there's those parents that put a lot of pressure on you to perform at school. If you don't come home with those straight A's, you're in trouble. So there's a lot of background to answering these type of questions.
And there obviously, like we're connecting what you do from a postpartum aspect to what you do with childhood trauma. When we talk about childhood trauma, tell me a little bit more about, you know, when it's the right time for someone to come speak to you about your specialty and you know, helping sort out those childhood issues.
Yeah, so similar to what she said, if you're having interference with day-to-day life, that doesn't mean you're not functioning. Most people function well. It's when your boss gives you feedback or some criticism, do you take it personally? Are you beating yourself up? When someone comes at you aggressively, but you did nothing wrong, are you, one, super angry? How dare they come at me like that today? Or are you saying, what did I do wrong? Are you trying really hard to fix a situation that might be out of your control? There's only so much you can do to influence someone else. Are you okay with letting it be? Are you like, I gotta fix this. I gotta make sure they're okay with me. Are they mad at me? All of those things are really indicative of poor mental health, actually, and something we call cognitive distortions, which very simply put means thinking errors. And the more thinking errors we have, the less grounded in reality we are. So we have tools to help get you, you can have the same thought, but you can have it without thinking errors, a more factual-based thought. And so when you're having thoughts like that aren't necessarily grounded in hard evidence, it's time to come see someone and help switch that mindset.
Has this embracing their own mental health, is that something that you really started to see kind of come out of the pandemic and when a lot more people felt kind of alone and kind of in their own thoughts, or is this something that you started to see? Because obviously you've been doing this a lot longer than 2020. So what has the last few years been like for you in your business?
In our business specifically, we've definitely seen an increase in people wanting to take control of their mental health, wanting to take back control of their lives. But what really comes with mental health in general is just that stigma of, if I seek out a professional, that means I'm crazy. Or what are my friends going to think about me? I have to confess or admit certain things that happened in my life. Avoidance is huge. People want to avoid because if they think it's going to avoid this, then it goes away, it didn't happen. But kind of like what she was mentioning earlier, that can come out in your cognitive distortions, your perceptions of the world, your behaviors. So what we have seen recently is it does come out a lot with people's emotions actually too, right?
And to piggyback off that, I think the only thing COVID did, because we saw this years before.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think what COVID did was you're stuck at home with your spouse and your kids, and now you realize all those little tiny things that you thought were not problematic are not problematic because y'all are fighting, you can't stand to be together, or whatever is happening, and people are like, oh, perhaps I'm not happy. It was there before. It just shined the light on it. And so I think that's what the pandemic did, not necessarily. I mean, sure, there were factors that increased some of our mental health, the isolation, naturally, but I think a lot of those things for people were there long before COVID.
Because pre-COVID, you were able to go to work and be at work all day long. If you couldn't stand
Distracted.
your family
Yep.
at home, there was a lot of that's the word. There's a lot of distractions that can keep people from healing. When COVID hit, there was no distractions. You're home all day long with either by yourself in that isolation or with your family. And then you start to see everybody's mental health and what's actually happening for them.
See, for me, it was the isolation part of it because my wife's job had her in the office still. And what I was doing was, at least for a 7-month stretch, home by myself every single day and felt very caged in a sense. But even then, like I feel like what has my realization over time, because for the longest time I have not seen a therapist, and really just came to the realization a few weeks ago that, you know what, I think I do need to start talking to someone, just to, not that anything is, I feel serious, but also it's good to get things off my chest that,
Absolutely.
you have a great relationship with your spouse, but at the same time, there's still some things that you don't feel fully comfortable talking about. And that's why I feel, something like therapy, getting rid of the stigma of what you were talking about of, you don't want to think that other people think you're crazy. When that's the furthest thing from it. I feel like it's incredibly healthy to have those conversations.
Or like you said, people oftentimes wait till something's really wrong. Okay, that's one way to do it. But also if, and there's different types of modalities of treatment, which I'm hoping we get a chance to discuss. But something that you want to think about too is if you're getting proper tools, you increase your communication skills, you have more mental clarity, you can handle conflict better, whether it's with employees, spouses, whatever the case may be.
Internal conflict.
Boundary setting, things that allow us to have healthy, safe relationships and function in daily life better. So why are we waiting until we're collapsing, can't get out of bed, or depressed, when all of those skills will increase your daily living?
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that treatment can do and can help with.
So I'm glad you mentioned the different types of treatment, because I did want to get to that and kind of get a window into, all right, say someone takes that initiative, they take that next step, they embrace the fact that therapy in some way, shape, or form is something that they need. What are those different levels of treatment that you seek? And is it different depending on the type of specialty that you're going for?
It's absolutely different. So there's something called outpatient therapy, and that tends to be a revolving door. You'll see your therapist, no end date. Maybe you'll see them once a month, maybe you'll see them weekly, but there's no end date to that. And then you have something on the other end, it's called evidence-based type of treatment. That's more so what we prefer, because these models have been created, they've been studied. If the therapist is adherent and the patient is able to follow what the therapist is prescribing, you're more likely going to get your change. Like, there's a high percentage of that. We love that because when clients come to us, they want solutions. Anybody wants solutions,
Sure.
right? If you're struggling with trauma, postpartum depression, or just mental health in general, where there's a problem, which I can go on a tangent about this, right? We do what we do because of the gaps that we saw out there with other mental health agencies or programs. We saw gaps and we just wanted to be something for our clients that they can come and they can heal and they can go on their own
In a short period of time.
in a short period of
It's
time.
not supposed to be
What
a
is a short
revolving
period
door.
of time?
We start with 16 sessions,
Okay.
which is a 4-month period. We don't generally do more than 2 rounds, so at max 8 months. But 4 months, people can make measurable change. So we have measurable goals.
Okay.
Right. We have an end date. You get a skill every single session. It's not we're coming to talk and vent and then you leave. It's here's the issue. What's the function? What's the core of that issue? Here's a tool. We role play and practice the tool. Here's your homework. We start the next session reviewing that homework, and then we pick up a new tool, and those tools build on each other. So the whole point is, like she said, you leave and go out, and you don't need to come back to us.
We don't want to be a crutch.
And so what we find is outpatient is a great tool, I think, for individuals who don't want anything other than someone to talk to and listen to. It is a wonderful, wonderful tool. Your insurance usually covers it with co-pays, and you can talk and vent. And that is perfect, and that is all some people need. But if you need to heal from something or you want actual tools, you need to do an evidence-based therapy, coaching program, or something with some kind of evidence-based individual background. Because again, that looks very, very different. And I think that's the problem. People go to get healed and they go to regular outpatient, let me just talk about this, and then don't understand why 3 years later they're not feeling better.
I feel like the idea that you have a set time limit is something that I've personally not heard of before, but it makes a ton of sense where right from the jump, you're letting someone know if you follow these steps,
Yep.
you will be helped in X period of time.
Yes.
And it's not a long period of time either. Is that something that you have kind of heard from clients that is really helpful, that instead of this open-ended, well, you're going to start and who knows when you're going to finish?
Yes, because it's predictability, right? A lot of people who have experienced difficulty in their lives or trauma, at the core of that, they're like, I just need something that's predictable. So when we tell them you're going to see us weekly, hour and a half for 16 weeks, they know what they're going to get when they come to us. And, to kind of piggyback off what you said too, we provide a skill. Anybody who gets a skill is going to know what to do when a certain problem comes up. When a certain trigger comes up, you know what to do and how to change. When you think about other programs, like you mentioned, like the revolving door, you come back, you don't necessarily get a skill. You just come in and you talk about what's going on in your life. You come back whenever you need to. But we've had so many clients come and just say, I have this problem. I don't know how to fix it. You need that skill, that tangible skill to be able to walk away with that you can change and not have a crutch any longer.
And it holds us accountable as well. So we know if a client comes in, these are our goals. This is what we're going to get you to by the end of that 16. It holds us accountable to not mess around in those sessions. We are on it. We're getting to the core quickly. We're asking really tough questions fast and pushing that envelope a little bit because we're also on a time limit, which holds us accountable to not waste your time.
Where did this concept for Empress Evolve come from? How did this all kind of come about?
This is the story time, right?
And here, now that we've reached the story
How
time.
much time do you have?
Oh man, it's funny that you should mention that. So our story starts off as coworkers, but we're also sister-in-laws. We're best friends.
Neighbors, aunties.
Neighbors. She is the aunt to my son and daughter that's on the way. We have a close...
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. We have such a close-knit relationship. But to take it back, it all started when we both were working at an agency, local agency in the area. I'll tell the beginning part, and then you can jump in with the other stuff. So we got hired to do family therapy at an agency in the area, and she was the clinical director at the time, or was it clinical supervisor? In she walks to do the training, and I'm like, I like this girl. She starts talking about how she has this beautiful wine collection at her house and how it helps her just, session plan, all these things. I was like, that's the one. I'm going to be best friends with her. And then sooner.
You're like, you had me at wine.
You had me at wine. Exactly. She did. Quite quickly, I got promoted up as well to the same position as her. And they had us traveling across the country, Arizona, Florida, California,
Wow.
to do externships. And that's kind of where the friendship started to develop. And we started talking about our career goals and what we saw for our life and our path, the gaps that we saw in the treatment that we were doing at the agencies we were at. And that's the short, I mean, you can give the more details. That's the short of how we came to be business partners.
Got it. And when did Empress Evolve officially open as a business?
We have
2019.
3 anniversary dates.
Okay.
All in 2019, though.
All in 2019.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Got it. So 2019, and for that matter, both of you grew up in central Pennsylvania, South
Yes.
Central PA,
Yes.
Central to often East Chambersburg.
Yes.
So you had this experience working together, and taking the experiences that you had from working together, you were able to kind of come up with, I guess, this business model of what is going to work. We need to do something different. We have to. We can't make it just like any other, therapy firm. It has to be different. And taking what different bits and pieces of what you learned from your experiences, you kind of came up with the model that you currently use.
Yes. So in all those travel experiences, we had lots of red-eye flights, and because of budgeting for nonprofits, lots of shared motel rooms in shady places.
So we didn't even know each other yet. And they're like, you two are in the same room.
In the same
Great.
bed many times,
Yeah.
because they're like, you guys get one bed. We're like, great, it's fine. So there are lots of sleepless nights having these discussions of, and we were so young at the time. We're in our mid-20s. What do we know? We didn't even have our doctorates yet. We'd be sitting there, and there were a couple instances where we got pulled into offices saying, you're moving a little too fast, slow down, because
Too fast in what way?
like healing clients and getting change, and
Oh,
then they
wow.
would leave and not come back. And they're like, we can't make
Oh.
money this way. And we're like, "Yeah, okay, yeah, we'll slow down. And we're sitting here, again, it sounds weird, but we're sitting in bed, like in these late nights of these travel nights going, I think we're onto something. We didn't know what we were onto. And in one of those flights back from Florida, from Arlington, Florida, she said, let's start a business. I said, okay. We ordered business cards, no address, no phone number. What were we doing? We don't know. What modality?
No
Yet
idea.
to be decided. Ordered business cards on the plane. She called her husband. That was before I was dating your brother. She called her husband and said, hey, I started a business with Nikki. I'll tell you about it when we land. And that's how it got started. So knowing, and again, we were taking notes. We knew we had something here. And we're looking at research articles. We're downloading all this stuff. We were in the middle of our doctorate program. We're emailing advisors going, hey, we're seeing this thing that's missing. They're like, that's an excellent gap. You should do a dissertation on that. Like, we see the gap too. It's not being addressed yet. Okay. So we just literally winged a prayer and no plan at all on how we were going to do this.
And it worked.
And it worked.
So far,
And then you found your husband from that relationship.
Yep.
yes.
That's incredible.
On her convincing. She's like, my brother's perfect for you. You guys
Same
should go on a
person.
date. Yeah.
That, I mean, if anything screams best friends, it is the trust of, no, I think you and my brother would be
Yes.
great together. And how awesome would it be to call you a sister-in-law? That is it's a great story. I know you teased it ahead of time. Hearing it all the way through, great story. You start in 2019. Here we are, 2024. 5 years in. What does the future have in store for Empress Evolve?
The future has a lot in store for Empress Evolve. We just hired a brand new team because we are expanding and we saw a deeper need in the community. And even though we can be super women, we knew we couldn't handle it all. So we just hired a team of, was it 4 new coaches? 4 new coaches. We're training them up, 1 or 2 trainings a week. What is trauma? How does that look like to your niche specifically? Because trauma does show up differently for different populations. So we've been working on that. We also have developed our own trauma recovery model called Neuro Evolving. So that's with 16 sessions. We're not going to give too many details because
Sure.
it's still being copywritten or trademarked. But just it's evidence-based. And we want to present that to the community, teach it to other mental health agencies or other individuals who work with people who have experienced trauma. So those are two of the biggest things we have on our horizon right now at Empress Evolve.
And where can people go for more information on, maybe they're watching this and they say, you know what, this is something that I want to try. Where can people go for more information on that?
He always loves when I do this.
You love this part.
So it's quite easy across all social media platforms. It is Empress Evolve. Our website is www.empressevolve. And then we don't have a TikTok anymore, do we?
We have
We
it. Is
tried.
it utilized at all? 0%.
No. Okay. We have Instagram. We've got Facebook. We've got LinkedIn. All Empress Evolve.
Awesome. Dr. Taylor Bryant, Dr. Nicole Greene, thank you both so much for shedding light on this, having this important discussion. Hopefully this inspires more people to have those important talks when it comes to mental health and the different levels that mental health kind of gets into. So thank you both.
Thank you for having us.
That's the word, Harrisburg. Thank you again for joining us here on WHBG Channel 20. We'll catch you next time here on What's the Word. Take care.